telephone, and Verizon, it's 6 o'clock, and it's time to start the meeting. So if you would, stand with me and face the flag, and let's say the Pledge of Allegiance together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's stand for a moment in silence before we start the meeting, please. Amen. Commissioner, you've been presented with the agenda. Do I have a motion from a member of the commission to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Blake. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Alexander. Any other comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes carry. Agenda's adopted. I hope everyone had a good Easter and is enjoying this weather. Just keep in mind that we're going to have more storms like this that we had today, and some of our trees are still haven't recovered or are weakened, and you may see more trees coming down from time to time and limbs coming down and so forth, but that's to be expected in Montreat, and we're pretty well used to it. The town crew will try to get them removed as quickly as possible, and I'm sure Duke Power will, or Progress Energy, or whatever they call themselves these days, will be in and get us back up. I have nothing else, so we'll proceed. Savannah? Consent agenda?
Thanks, Mayor. So your consent agenda tonight are the April 10th Public Forum meeting minutes and the April 10th Town Council meeting minutes. Otherwise, my only communications are that I would like to thank Julie Schell. She volunteered with us every Monday in April. She helped us get organized from moving back in to Town Hall. She did a lot of filing for us and admin work that Angie and I had not had the chance to get to. It was very helpful, so thank you, Julie. A reminder that we are closed May 26th for Memorial Day. And then I also want to remind everyone that brush and leaf pickup should be brush and leaves only. Other materials damage our chipper and can injure our staff. We're still having issues with nails and metal in our brush piles. So please be careful and conscious of that. That's all I have.
Thanks, Savannah. Commissioners, you've received the administration report, planning and zoning, public works and water, sanitation, streets, finance is on there, and that was pending. April building permits and the police report. Does anyone have any questions and or comments? Tom? Are you okay? You notice I immediately looked to the right. Tom usually has something. The floor is open for public comment. Anyone has anything they wish to say to the commissioners? Seeing no one moving to the microphone, we'll move on. We have no old business, and we've got a good bit of new business. Buncombe County recovery update. Representative from the County Commission.
So I'll
Buncombe
introduce
County.
Rachel Sawyer from Buncombe County. She's going to make this presentation to us about Buncombe County's recovery update. You all have seen in Montreat Minute the opportunity to take a survey. So Rachel's going to talk a little bit more about that. Thanks, Rachel, for coming tonight.
Thank you, Savannah. I will encourage you all to consider taking a survey and spread the word to your community. But before I get there, I want to take a point of privilege. First, I'll introduce myself, Rachel Sawyer. I work for Buncombe County Government as a staff leader of the department that we call Strategic Partnerships, which is mostly about grants. And like so many others these days, we wear a lot of hats. And another hat that I'm wearing is the Helene Recovery Lead for Buncombe County. So that's working with all of our various departments and community partners, organizing the efforts that are going into place in the recovery phase of the event. Before I do get into that, I wanted to look back and acknowledge your town manager and the town itself for the collaboration throughout the event. It was very heartening to see the collaboration that occurred at the grassroots level, neighbors coming out and helping neighbors, and also behind the scenes, something that you all might not have noticed or members of the public might have noticed is how integrated our local governments were behind the scenes, coming together and strategizing about how to get the important response efforts out to the community. So I have a few numbers to share as we think back. In those early days, we were in the time of swift water rescues and those, no communication. I saw that over 100,000 households did not have electricity at the peak. And I also looked at how many households are in Buncombe County, including each of the towns together, and it's only at about 104,000 households. So that's pretty much everyone was without power. And you know that we were all trying to sort of wait for when we could get our texts through and our calls through and get the internet back. As things began to come back on, a lot of the activities that we were doing together, Savannah and the other town managers, Jason and Jonathan and Shannon were talking probably daily. I was seeing the weekly convenings to look at things like sheltering, lots of people displaced from their homes, the water and the food distributions that were occurring. I heard you mention debris, that those efforts are not yet done, but that has taken different shapes and forms throughout, getting debris out of the roadways so that we can literally pass from one place to another, rebuilding those roads. There's been a lot of economic assistance that we've been focusing on during the response time, both to households as well as to small businesses, et cetera. I have an opportunity to work closely with other intergovernmental partners at the state and federal levels, being situated with FEMA's response teams, and so we've been tracking their data. I don't have this broken out by town, but it is quite astounding just at the overall county level. We had 368 homes destroyed completely, another 734 that had major damage, and 11,000 plus that had some damage. And added all together, that's 9% of the housing stock of residential housing units in our countywide community. So an event like we could not have imagined. And FEMA itself, I find this really interesting. The individual assistance, that's where households are applying to FEMA, and maybe it's for that $750 serious needs assistance, all the way up to getting help with the private road or bridge repair or home. 60,000 plus households have been approved and received that FEMA assistance, which again, remembering how many households we have, that's almost 58% of the estimated number of households in our county. And the total assistance is somewhere between $135 and $140 million that has gone into those households directly. So staggering amount of damage to our people and to our place. You were mentioning our trees. Landslides is something that we've seen a ton of. There were 1,000 plus reported landslides in Buncombe County, including 400 of which were a threat to, or either imminent threat or damage to structures or roads. And those, I mentioned private roads and bridges, 300 or so were washed out and needing repair. So we've done a lot of the response. We're 7-ish months past the event. we're not really in response mode anymore. Our last community care station, which was located in Black Mountain at the Owen Pool, where people could go and get showers and laundry, that service has ended. We're helping the residents figure out how to get access to those services through other pathways, but we're no longer doing that. We no longer are renting and running a giant warehouse. We have no more households staying in hotels through the transitional sheltering program that we're bringing meals to. So now we've got our feet squarely in what happens next. What does recovery look like? So that's what I'm going to cover this evening. So next slide, please. So in the discussion of should we put together a Helene recovery plan, we did some research. Looked at the National Disaster Recovery Framework and the states and other communities that have been through disasters, and decided, yes, that doing a recovery plan made sense because it is helpful to us to articulate what's important in recovery, name some projects. We're going to do a plan that's project specific, so name what projects we want to try to carry out in the next few years. We call it a long-term recovery plan, but the timeline isn't exactly certain. Some things will be sooner and some things will be longer term. We want it to reflect the community voice, yet as local government, I know you guys think about this a lot, we want it to be tailored to our organizational scope. So Buncombe County government doesn't do roads, and so that won't be part of what's in our plan. We do have a public health department, so we might be doing some health or trauma or response efforts there. So thinking about our jurisdictions, how do we use the resources that come to us through our revenues, either the ones that we already have through our taxes or fees, or resources we might be able to go after through grants, to take this plan and put those resources into highest and best use. Next slide, please. So I mentioned looking around at other frameworks. We also have looked at other plans. I'm joined this evening by John and Anastasia, who are in the second row, who are with FEMA, not the response side, but the recovery side, on the interagency recovery coordination side of the house, that they're in a team called Community Assistance, that comes and brings resources to places like here to help us carry out a plan. When I asked Savannah about this idea, the answer was, yes, it makes a lot of sense. Let's figure out how to maximize those outside resources as much as possible. So the city of Asheville and each of the 5 towns have agreed to come together in a way that each of us will be able to name our own projects, and those projects will be the ones that we're each responsible for funding or carrying out within maybe our capital improvement plans or annual budgets or course of our work. But together, there might be some cross-cutting projects, like one came up earlier this week around hazard mitigation planning. We have a shared hazard mitigation plan across Buncombe County and its towns and city, and Madison County and its towns. So we might all have some cross-cutting collaborative projects. So the idea is to have this unified plan. Our community assistance folks are going to help us with the background, recapping the storm, giving a picture of our communities, our population, our demographics, and our geography. And then for each of our sections, we'll be able to say, if Montreat wishes to put forward some goals or some vision, totally fine. And what we're looking for is a set of projects that you all will approve through the town's processes. I don't know if that's staff or board, but you all will bring forward so that we have a unified plan with our autonomy within each of our sections. That also is going to contribute to this overall community recovery, because we're not the only ones out there planning. There are a lot of nonprofits, community-based organizations, faith groups that are thinking of ideas to help us build back, but in a better way, in a more resilient way. And maybe it's an opportunity to move some things ahead that have been on the idea list for a while that we can use momentum now to carry out. Next slide, please. So we are here in the first section there, spring and summer of 2025. We wanted to ground this in community input, so we have created a survey that I'll show you in a second, branded as Envision Buncombe, and we're collecting information about the respondents so that we can provide Black Mountain and Montreat and each town its own set of responses, so you can see of those that answered the survey that reside here, what is most important to them. This survey asks what is important in recovery, what types of projects do people imagine? And so we will use that information as well as our own internal processes to come up with projects. That's usually built into all of our local governments already, a way to kind of come up with what the town is going to carry out over the course of a given year or set of years. And we're still early, so we're brainstorming about the best ways to get all the ideas on the table and narrow them down. We'll use our outside resources to help refine and shape them. Some of them might be really fully baked ideas. Some of them might be more aspirational things that we're putting this forward that we want to explore some type of project or program or initiative. So that development is happening now and will continue into the summer, informed by the community input. And then in the fall, we intend to...
Rachel, may I
Yes,
ask a question?
certainly.
On the project development and evaluation by the individual jurisdictions,
Yep.
How do you, as Buncombe County, coordinate that with our own individual project plans that we are and/or have already submitted to FEMA?
So the recovery plan might include your FEMA projects, which tend to be damage-based. So you might have a facility or a park or some other kind of town amenity that incurred some kind of damage from the storm, and FEMA public assistance is going to help repair that. Then there might be other projects that are a little bit beyond scope, where maybe there's an idea to do an economic incentive for the businesses that are located that is a little outside the scope, or maybe stream bank restorations or wildfire prevention that's not going to be something that would be directly FEMA public assistance eligible, but is still important to what the people here say recovery would look like. So inclusive of and beyond. And also there's no rules. So this is our own plan, and we can kind of figure out what makes most sense to us. We'll bring the elected officials of each board back a draft plan in September, probably. And then what we'd like to do is open that to the community to give feedback. Take a look. We asked you what you thought was important. Here are the projects and plans we came up with. How did we do? Did we miss the mark? Is there any changes you'd like to see? And then we give a little bit of time, post that to modify, and then adopt those plans in November-ish. We were originally thinking we could adopt a plan a year after the event, and have come to the conclusion that bringing out a draft at the 1-year commemoration timeframe would be just perfectly sufficient, and then give a little time to socialize it before we officially adopt it. Also, you heard me say we're already in recovery, so we're starting some of the work already. This is a little different than other planning processes that we might have done, like a comprehensive land use plan, which is very linear with a start and a beginning and an end. This is sort of building the house while we're living in it, but we're excited about the opportunity and excited to have FEMA community assistance here with us to carry it forward, and have got lots of great support from other communities that have experienced disasters in the past, doing peer calls to give us advice and lend their help as well. So now to the survey. Next slide, please. I think you mentioned this has gone out, and we will continue to put it in newsletters and on social media, etc. Next slide is a link to the survey. The short part, if you just type in engage.buncombecounty.org, that takes you to the public input site where people can answer a 4-question, really quick survey. Or if you point your phone at this while it's on the screen, it will take you there. We encourage each of you to do it and to share in your networks so that the town of Montreat can be well represented in the survey results and become one of the inputs for how we use our local government resources in the months and the years to come. I believe that's the last slide, but I'm not 100% sure. Questions? Oh, this is great. Always just to remind folks when we're out in the public talking about Helene, we do have a Helene Resource Center open at the former tax office on Cox Avenue. It's located at 94 Cox Avenue. It's open every day, 8 to 5. FEMA is there, the individual assistance side, where people that might have a case that they're working on can go talk with their folks about the status of their case. But lots of other programs. There's one called Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, which you all have probably heard about, where property owners can apply for a buyout or to have their home elevated through a state and federal government program. Pretty much any resource that's out there that helps individuals or households, we're trying to make sure we're centralizing it and giving a point of access. So 94 Cox Avenue, combined with a phone number that isn't listed on the screen, but I'll say it. It's 828-250-6100. That's the One Buncombe hotline that's answered by those representatives. So that is the end of my prepared information, and I'd be happy to respond to any questions that you might have. I appreciate you jumping in early.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
And this may not be in your area, but before all of this happened, we already had a housing problem.
Indeed.
And now so many of the service industry people lost their homes and have left the area. And I know businesses that cannot even open now because they can't get help. Do you know what the situation is? Is there a plan for trying to get our service industry workers back?
That is one of you've mentioned in that question several key areas that are a real issue and that we need to address for recovery. The unemployment numbers, we went from being the lowest unemployment in the state as a county to the highest, for like 1 month to the next. And it has recovered somewhat, but maybe just at the summary level, when you dig in and look at different sectors, it's not all equal. Service industry and the arts community are two that have been really affected. We've got to focus on home repair as well as new home construction, all of the levers that are available. There is going to be funding. From what we understand, the state of North Carolina had its Community Development Block Grant, DR, disaster recovery. That's the $1.4 billion that was awarded to the state from the federal government. They've picked out priorities, and some of them really match with what you're describing. So what we hope is we'll be able to put projects forward to bring some of that money down. What I didn't say when I was citing all those numbers is Buncombe County represents a third of the disaster in North Carolina. So when you look at how many homes got damaged or how many landslides there were or how much FEMA approval there has been, pretty much every measure you can look at, we're sitting at about a third. So we really want to be well positioned to, when those grant applications open, be ready with projects that we can draw down. A lot of us have hired disaster recovery contractors. Buncombe County is working with one called Tetra Tech that have done this before. So we have some of that staff capacity added, being poised hopefully to be able to focus on those really important issues like you named.
There are a lot of organizations like the Fuller Center and Mountain Housing Opportunities and Beloved Asheville that are already boots on the ground doing this. So it seems to me that they're in the process, and I would like to see more money go to the ones that are organized and doing it and know how to do it than than starting something else new.
That makes a lot of sense. And sometimes we, as like the governmental institutions, Land of Sky Regional Council does this. I know Buncombe County does this. Sometimes we'll go for a grant and then pass it through contracts or subrecipient agreements to the nonprofits so they don't have to deal with all of the administrative overhead and can focus on carrying out the work. But I hear you loud and clear. We have a lot of nonprofits in our community, and that's one of the things that makes us who we are, and we can really leverage a lot of energy.
Anyone else? Tom?
You said, Rachel, that Buncombe County represented 30% of total damage.
Yes.
Who else is in that in terms of large numbers?
Well, there
Is Buncombe County the largest?
the largest, yes, by far. All the other, yes, largest by far. And again, it's which measure are you looking at any given time? Certainly there are communities outside of Buncombe. The disaster is not only Buncombe, but it's a high concentration. So when you look at Yancey County and the impacts in Spruce Pine or Lake Lure, there was plenty of devastation from both flooding and the wind event that affected all across the region. The officially declared counties go all the way to Mecklenburg, but their damages were incidental. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Rachel, thank you so much for coming.
Yes, we appreciate you hosting us. Thanks.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Rachel.
And thank y'all for coming too. Appreciate it. You want to introduce yourselves? You can just holler from there.
I'm John Russell. I'm here from Salem, Oregon. Be here through September.
Thank you, John. Thank you for being here. One more. And you're with FEMA, right? Okay. DeWanna, thank you for coming. Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is a proclamation, the annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week. Whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists through the world, and whereas the Office of Professional Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants. Now, that doesn't mean you're old, Si. Okay? Whereas the Office of Professional Municipal Clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, whereas professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community, and whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the Office of Professional Municipal Clerk through the participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meeting of their state, provincial, county, or international professional organization. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk. Now, therefore, I, Tim Helms, Mayor of Montreat, do recognize the week of May 4th through 10th, 2025 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerk, Angie Murphy, and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Thank you so much, Angie. Another proclamation. Whereas police officers of the Montreat Police Department stand watch over our citizens, selfishly risking their lives to protect individuals, families, neighborhoods, and property against crime, and whereas it is important that all citizens recognize the duties, responsibility, hazards, and sacrifices of local law enforcement agencies, And whereas Thursday, May the 15th, 2025, is observed nationally as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice and service to their community or have become disabled in performance of duty. And whereas the Montreat Police Department, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered dedicated service to the community. Now therefore I, Tim Helms, as Mayor of Montreat, do hereby declare May 11 through 17, 2025 as Police Week in the town of Montreat, North Carolina, and hereby publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community. Thanks, Jeff.
We can do them all at once if you want to.
I'm going to do them all at
Yeah.
one time.
Yeah.
Okay. All at one time be okay? Okay. The last one is National Public Works Week proclamation, May 18 through 24, 2025. People, purpose, and presence. Whereas public works professionals serve in their communities every day, meeting the needs of people is what gives public works its sense of purpose. Focusing on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Montreat. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens and civic leaders and children in North Carolina to gain knowledge and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2025 marks the 65th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, Canadian Public Works Association, be it now resolved that I, Mayor Tim Helms, do hereby designate the week, May 18 through 24, 2025, as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with the representatives of the American Public Works Association and governmental agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand across the town of Montreat to affix that on this 8th day of May 2025. Barry, where's Barry? Commissioners, do I have a motion to accept the proclamation to the public works people, to the police department, and to our town clerk? Do I have a motion?
I joyfully make that motion.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Widmer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mayor Pro Tem Fouché. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Well, no, they must like it. Nobody opposed it. The ayes carry. Okay, guys. National Public Works. Resolution to approve the North Carolina cash flow loan agreement and promissory note. Savannah?
Yes, sir. So this is a cash flow loan from the state of North Carolina. The Department of the State Treasurer has been working with the Department of Emergency Management to help the towns that were impacted by Hurricane Helene with cash flow. So this loan is in the amount of $120,716. The promissory note is as follows. It will be $1 due on the first anniversary of the loan date, 10% in 2027, 20% in 2028, 30% in 2029, and 40% less $1 in 2030. So we do have a good amount of time to pay this back. And this money will go into Fund 29, which is our Hurricane Helene Recovery Fund, to help Public Works get started on some projects and other needs that we have. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you all might have about this resolution or the cash flow loan.
And can we use reimbursed funds to make these payments?
So yes, I guess in kind of a roundabout way. So we'll fund some projects with this loan, and then we'll submit the projects for reimbursement to FEMA, and they'll pay us back. So yes, essentially.
I'm not sure that it was noted that the state is doing this interest-free.
That is correct. Yes.
Do I have a motion?
Let me ask one more question. You said 10% and 20 and then 30. When do we have to pay the rest of it?
So it's 10% of the loan round amount. So we'll pay 10% in 2027, and then it just goes up each year after that.
Oh, it
Yeah.
keeps going after
Right.
30. Oh,
Right.
okay, gotcha. And that's of the original loan. Okay. Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve the North Carolina cash loan?
I motion to approve the North Carolina cash flow loan arrangement and promissory note.
I have a motion from Commissioner Alexander. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Blake. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. Item F, appointment of a regular member to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Savannah?
So you have a vacancy on the Planning and Zoning Commission. We need to appoint a new member. So I will let you all discuss some nominees amongst yourselves, and we'll go from there.
I'll move to appoint Sally Jenkins as a regular member of the Planning and Zoning. She's been serving as alternate and is willing to move to a full-time.
Hearing no more nominations, do I have a second to that nomination?
I second the nomination.
I have a second from Commissioner Widmer. All those in favor of Sally Jenkins as a regular member of the Planning and Zoning Commission signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. G, appointment of an alternate member to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Savannah?
I don't really have anything to add. Same situation. You have a vacancy that needs to be filled. So if you have any nominees, we can discuss or go from there.
Guys, have we come up with anybody yet as an alternative?
Well, I would like to nominate someone who is in this room and has shown interest in this position, and that is Gail Sawyer.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Alexander and a second from Mason Blake for Gail Sawyer to serve. Any other nominations? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. Congratulations, Gail. Thank you.
That's what you get for being so faithful.
Item H, bear-resistant trash containers. Savannah?
Yes, sir. So as you all know, we've had a lot of discussions about bears and trash. We want to explore ways that we can improve our residents' and visitors' experience around trash and bears, especially in the summer. So I think one way to do that would be to explore this idea of bear-resistant trash containers and making that mandatory in town. And not only that, but also ensuring that folks have sufficient can capacity. So, you know, potentially requiring that each household have at least one bear-resistant container for every 3 residents and or renters. That's another problem that we run into with trash and bears, is that we find the cans to be overfilled. Then the can doesn't latch properly. It's easier for the bear to get in. So increasing the amount of cans might also help with that. This would be something that we couldn't put it in place right away. We would have to give folks plenty of time to acquire a can. And also we want to very clearly define what does bear-resistant trash container mean? What exactly are we asking for? So my recommendation to you all would be to, our attorney, Brandon Freeman, is already working on our sanitation ordinance. We have some things that we'd like to clean up. So what I'm requesting from you all is direction to have him and I and Barry explore the best way to implement bear-resistant containers in town, and then bring a plan back to you as part of the sanitation ordinance cleanup.
Sounds like a good approach, Savannah. The one thing I would recommend is, rather than basing it, to me, you need to come up with a cubic foot or cubic yard container for numbers of people. Because I know that my container is one of the big square ones, or rectangular ones, really, and it'll hold mine and our neighbors. It'll hold about 4 or 5 people, or maybe 6. But these small round cans aren't going to hold but maybe 1 or 2. But if we could look at that when we do it, to really give people some direction.
We will. We want to be very, if we go down this road, we want to be very thoughtful about how we phrase it so that everything is very clear. So that's a good point. We would need to look at exactly what size of can, what's the tipping point, and then also, again, what falls into the bear-resistant category. We want to make sure that that's very well defined.
Mr. Mayor, may I comment?
You certainly can, Mr. Commissioner Widmer.
I like the way you put that, and I would just recommend to Brandon and you and Barry that we have some, quote, bear-resistant trash containers in this town that are clearly not bear-resistant. So I don't think we want to just throw out their brand names because they aren't necessarily bear-resistant. And there are others that that may be homemade, like mine, that is pretty darn bear-resistant. So that provision, I think, of looking at the veracity of existing bear boxes, you know, it's not going to be as easy as just a blanket approval of certain brands of trash cans. It may come down to approving every single resident and what they've got.
I think what we can do is say, this is what we're calling bear resistant, or maybe these are the brands we recommend. And if you think that you are exempt in some way from this, or you have another solution, then maybe we can have the Public Works Director or his designee approve that. You know, we put some provision in there for a situation like that.
And one other thought too, as you guys look at the plans for it, there is one bear-resistant trash can, that composite trash can, that black composite on wheels that really is bear-resistant. Unfortunately, it's on wheels. And I have neighbors on either side of me who both have them. And I never see trash in the road, but I see their bear containers batted around like a ping pong ball. So somehow,
Are you talking about me, Tom? Is it?
so you're going to have to make provisions for that.
I went to retrieve my my trash can out of the road at like midnight recently, and luckily I shined the light up in the tree, and there were 2 cubs right above where I would have been standing, and so I just left it in the road. I didn't know what else to do. It was really smart. Yeah, I was like, I'll get it tomorrow. So, yeah.
Do I have a motion? And will September 1 give y'all enough time?
I think that's sufficient time, yes.
Okay.
You might look too at they sell straps that you put on your regular can. That's, I don't know if they work or not, but
My parents have straps, and they have worked very well for them. But we'll think through it all, and you'll have plenty of time to comment on it, share other ideas. We'll take a stab at kind of a first draft, and then you all will be able to have input as well, of course.
I also have one thought. I know when we have placed a one that's going to stay, a permanent one, that the Public Works gives a permit or tells you whether, working on the, where it is to the proximity to the road and where, as far as safety hazards. And I think that's something to think about too, and because that needs to go, probably inform people that you can't just take something and build it or move it permanently wherever you want.
Could I also suggest that I'm glad you're going to bring it back to us to talk about, but I would love to have some public input on it as well. So maybe the motion should include some provision for that we would approve a requirement provided that there's adequate commission and public input on the process.
And I think you could probably scrap the suggested motion that's on the agenda and do something more along the lines of, direct the town manager to bring an ordinance or back to you or something along those lines. Yeah.
Do I have a motion then to direct the town manager to work with staff and come back to us with a recommendation?
Yes.
A second.
Commissioner Whitmer and Commissioner Alexander seconded it. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. Floor is open for any public comment.
you're so dependable, Tom.
Tom Friss, 98 Friss Road. I think you're really going to need some public comment here because what's grandfathered in, I mean, even the simple cans cost, $400 or $500, people have invested. And it's not only that, it's a lot of times people just don't lock them. That's the problem. And the third thing to investigate, I think, too, is who manufactures, can you get a good deal for a whole community? I mean, if you is there some way the town could talk with people to lower the prices? Is if this ordinance that we have to do it just to try to get some good possibilities there? Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Anyone else? Okay. Commissioners, comments?
I have a comment tonight, and yesterday was land care, the land care meeting, and Bill Seaman has asked for a project to have a water Flat Creek monitoring, and it's like the one that they had before. It was let's let's see, it was when people would go out and survey, and it was one that community members were asked to take the surveys, and it was once a month. And I think it was very popular, but one of the reasons that it's going to be so good now, that one was done in 2020, and then this one will be done in 2025, and we'll get to see pre-Helene and post-Helene, which I think is going to be very interesting. It also, that survey from 2020 was used for the Flat Creek Crossing. You know, that went into their grant writing. And so with this next one, there are possibly things that we want to do in stream management that might help. I think the greatest part of this is, though, that it brings the community together to actually get in and do something that supports our Flat Creek stream to be healthy. And George Sawyer may have something else to add to it. He's chairman of Land Care. Do you have anything to add, George?
George Sawyer, 324 Chapman Road. I think it's probably important to enter into the city record the activity of about 10 days ago where a group of citizens got together under the direction of the tree board to treat the hemlock trees to help to get rid of the algid beetles through a chemical treatment. The trees, about 126 trees from here to the ball field were treated, and some additional trees will be treated through an injection process, which we're not capable of doing. You have to be licensed to do that. But money has been made available through some private funding to accomplish this. I know it was recognized in the town newsletter, thank you, Tom, with the picture of the group who did it. But I thought like it was important to enter it into the public record also.
Thanks, George.
Oh, and one more thing, the Land Care is providing the little under $600 to have the samples taken care of in the lab in Black Mountain.
Other commissioner comments? Okay. Some dates to remember. Tree Board, Tuesday, May the 13th, 2025 at 9 a.m. in Town Hall. Zoom options. Board of Adjustment, Thursday, May the 22nd, 2025, 5 p.m. Town Hall. Town offices are closed Memorial Day, May the 26th. Sanitation will resume on Tuesday, the 27th. Town Convenience Center will be open from 7 to 7 on that day and every day. Land Care, Wednesday, June the 4th, 2025 at 9 a.m. in Town Hall with Zoom options. Tree Board, Tuesday, June 10th, 2025, 9 a.m. Town Hall. June Town Council meeting, Thursday, June the 12th at 6 p.m. in Town Hall. Public forum will begin at 5:30. The Board of Adjustment, Thursday, June 26, 2025, 5 p.m. in Town Hall. All the Town Hall meetings are with Zoom options. Anything else? Okay. I need a motion to go into closed session in accordance with North Carolina law for discussion of personnel matter. Motion from Mayor Pro Tem Fouché. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second from Grant Dasher. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned. We will reconvene after our meeting. I don't know how long it'll be.